You hear it before you see it. The hum of high-voltage lines over a flat, windswept steppe, the metallic chorus of pumps pushing water through miles of pipe. On the horizon, 6 concrete domes rise from the banks of a broad river. This is the Zaporizhzhia Nuclear Power Plant, once the largest in Europe, now the most contested. Nuclear plants are built around a simple bargain: electricity for stability. But the bargain only holds if a fragile chain remains unbroken: reactors cooled, power lines intact, diesel ready, people trained, decisions swift. Break a single link and the whole system leans toward risk. At the heart of the site, control rooms glow in low light. Operators speak in clipped phrases, eyes moving across panels dense with readouts, steam pressure, coolant flow, core temperature. Behind them, the river glides dark and indifferent, its water both lifeline and threat. Cooling needs electricity. Electricity needs the grid. The grid, in wartime, is the first casualty. Imagine a night when the sky carries more than weather. Sirens braid with the drone of engines. Somewhere between the plant and the substations beyond, a high-tension line stutters and dies. The grid hiccups. Inside, relays click, alarms blossom, and procedure takes over. Turbines wind down. Emergency diesels belch to life, shouldering the weight that the grid can't carry. The sequence is rehearsed, but rehearsed is not the same as safe. Diesel is a bridge, not a destination. In the nearby towns, windows tremble. Families listen to the distant thud of explosions and study their phone screens as if the right update might keep the lights on. The plant's shadow is everywhere, on kitchen tables stacked with bottled water, in go bags leaning against doors, in the way people measure silence between sirens. By day, inspectors in hard hats trace the route of cables and pipes, counting redundancies the way mountaineers count handholds. Redundancy is the doctrine here: multiple lines, multiple pumps, multiple backups. But war is a patient subtractor. Each damaged transformer, each crated switchyard, each sleepless shift chips away at the margin that keeps routine from turning into emergency. In the control room, someone taps a gauge with a knuckle, an old reflex. The numbers hold, then drift. A supervisor calls for a verification, another calls for quiet. In nuclear work, quiet is a tool. Calm buys seconds, and seconds buy choices. The operators have muscle memory for crises. They have checklists for contingencies. What they don't have is control over the battlefield beyond the fence. Outside the fence, narratives collide. One side calls it safety, the other calls it leverage. In press conferences and late-night statements, accusations travel faster than maintenance crews. Words pile up while diesel burns down, and physics refuses to take sides. Water must move. Heat must go somewhere. Human bodies must rest. Point 8. The river, ancient and stubborn, threads the story together. Its intake channels feed the cooling systems. Its broad surface mirrors trace a fire at night. Engineers talk about water level and intake temperature with the tenderness of farmers talking about rain. Lose the river, lose the buffer. Lose the buffer, and every variable sharpens into a blade. Inside containment, steel and concrete act as last arguments against worst-case outcomes. Reactors in cold shutdown generate far less heat, but not none. Spent fuel pools, storage casks, auxiliary systems, each demands power, monitoring, and patience. Risk is not a switch you flip, it is a slope you slide when attention thins. Shift change feels like a ritual. Badges pass through turnstiles. Coffee tastes like metal. On a whiteboard, someone has drawn a thick line labeled margin and, beneath it, a thinner line labeled luck. The joke is intentional. In wartime, luck becomes a system dependency no one wants to admit. Across the region, substations wear fresh scars. Crews in insulated suits work under floodlights, replacing what was replaced last week. Logistics becomes arithmetic. How many meters of cable, how many hours of fuel, how many people you can keep focused through the fourth night without sleep. Every answer has a cost that shows up later. Above the desks, a small radio hisses. It carries the same few voices: the grid dispatcher, a local official trying to sound calm, a weather report that might as well be fiction. Somewhere far away, policy is debated in bright rooms with clean glass and good coffee. Here, policy arrives as a checklist and a clock. The plant's defenders will tell you the design is robust, the staff professional, the protocols proven by decades. They're right. Its critics will tell you that no design is meant to be tested by rolling blackouts, artillery shock, and disinformation swirling like smoke. They're right, too. Truth, in this place, is a braid of contradictions you live with. Consider the diesel generators, the guardians of last resort. They are brilliant and banal: engines, filters, tanks, and the tyranny of logistics. Fuel must be clean, delivered, stored, and defended. Filters clog. Seals age. A generator that should start always will, until the night one doesn't. That is not prophecy, it's engineering humility. At dawn, the plant looks almost peaceful. Mist lifts from the river. A heron stands at the water's edge, still as a fuse. Inside, the board glows its steady constellation. A junior operator runs a fingertip along a checklist line by line, lips moving. Routines, here, are a sacrament. Repetition is how you make a promise to a future you can't see. People outside ask fair questions. Could it happen? What would it mean? The honest answer is that consequence is a spectrum. Most paths end in contained events, tense but manageable, measured in headlines and not in plumes. The darker paths remain unlikely, but the price of unlikely is vigilance without theatrics, competence without noise. When inspectors visit, they leave behind recommendations in dry language and careful tense: should, must, ensure, verify. Between the verbs, you can hear the plea: protect the lines, harden the switchyards, rotate the crews, keep the diesel full. Risk is not a monster you slay, it's a diet you manage. Skip the discipline and it comes back heavier. Night returns with its arithmetic of distance and time. Somewhere an alarm tests its own voice. A truck rolls through a checkpoint, slow and deliberate. The plant keeps breathing, pumps, fans, valves, the mechanical lullaby of restraint. In a small office, someone draws a rectangle around tomorrow's date and writes one word beside it: ready. That word is the spine of the story. Ready means the drills that interrupt dinner, the spare parts ordered twice, the radio checks at awkward hours. Ready means accepting that the grid may falter and building a grid inside the fence. Ready means refusing to use fear as theater and refusing to pretend that fear is unnecessary. There is nothing inevitable about disaster. There is nothing automatic about safety. Between those truths live the people who keep the water moving and the heat leaving, who translate procedure into breathing room. They do not ask for applause. They ask for time, fuel, parts, rest, and for the noise beyond the fence to quiet just enough to hear the gauges. If there is a lesson here, it is small and stern. Complexity needs peace to be boring. Until peace returns, the plant survives on margin, discipline, and the stubborn decency of professionals who know that luck is not a plan. The domes on the river will keep their watch. The hum will return to the lines. And somewhere just off camera, a hand will hover over a switch, waiting to do the next right thing at the next right second, because sometimes that is all that stands between routine and catastrophe. It's caught in the crossfire.